This is Matt from MGMT Boston. On this episode of Lantern, we have the general partner of J2 Ventures, Alex Harstrick. We're in downtown Boston today, and we're here to talk about what he's building. So Alex, tell us about J2. What is J2 Ventures?
Thanks for having me on, Matt. J2 Ventures is one of the first dual-use oriented venture funds. We invest at the intersection of government non-dilutive capital, government funding opportunities, government acquisition opportunities, and the commercial sector. So we predominantly want to look at companies where the US government can help de-risk short-term product market fit for a really big technical endgame, where the entrepreneur doesn't want to give away a lot of their company while they're building something extraordinary.
Yeah, and if you didn't know, Boston is a central hub for the defense industry, the dual-use industry. So there's a lot here. It's a great place to be building a fund like that. Now, as you think about going into the end of 2025, big 2026 ahead, what is going on at J2 Ventures that you would share with the rest of the startup community?
Well, so I would begin with, actually, Matt, that Boston is the home of the first venture fund, American Research and Development Corporation. And that was actually designed to finance soldiers coming back from World War II, working on initiatives that had exposure to the US government. We are quite literally not reinventing the wheel here. I think we're just reminding people that the wheel was pretty great and always has been really great, albeit maybe better materials on the wheel, a little bit supercharged, things of that sort. So in that regard, we like to joke that our thesis will be extraordinary to your father and unextraordinary to your grandfather. Of the things that are happening in Boston now, we're seeing a major resurgence of people caring about this stuff. And I would say this purely apolitically, that regardless of what your motivation is, the US government is focused on rebuilding in America, putting a lot more money and resources towards things in the United States. And I think entrepreneurs used to see this as a niche category focused on one customer. And now I think they're understanding the ubiquity of the application of government finance across a lot of exciting areas. And Boston is ground zero for a lot of them. We have the highest density of colleges in America. We have people from all over the world that are coming here to study here, to learn things here, to build great things here. And so J2's focus is global, but I would say of the things that we're focused on right now, there's a ton of inbound deals from amazing entrepreneurs just coming out of MIT, Harvard, Northeastern, whatever institution you want to point at, that are building awesome things here. And we're really, really excited to be on the ground floor of those innovations.
Yeah, and now as we think about the fall of J2, like you have a lot of exciting updates both in the fund yourself and then sort of in the portfolio. Like share some of those highlights.
So some of the big ones, we joke about our first decacorn, Oura, which everybody scratches their head and says, that's not a dual-use company. That's not a defense company. To which I would educate them to say that the US Department of War is actually Oura Ring's largest enterprise customer.
Wow, that's cool.
So that is kind of the J2 value add in action, which is let's focus on a company that is building an extraordinary piece of technology fundamentally for the commercial sector, but let's use government resources to make that company even better. Another example would be Apex Space, where we were seed investors in Apex in the first round of financing after their incubation. And Apex just announced a round at a little over $1 billion. A couple of other rounds that are coming. Code Metal, a Boston-based company, actually moved from San Francisco to Boston. How often does that happen?
Which we love.
And absolutely killing it on all things dual use. Recently raised a round from Excel Partners, who's been a wonderful partner. But the broader point being, if you looked at any of these companies very explicitly, no guns, no weapons, nothing that hurts people, but they are defense companies.
Sure.
And when you think about what that means, it is extraordinary piece of technology, government wants it too, and the government's going to help pay for it so we can make this thing amazing.
Yeah, and how is J2 Ventures like going bigger in a sort of larger way next year?
Well, quite literally, our fund is bigger. It's $250 million. We are oversubscribed. We are fortunate to be able to raise the fund before our first close with more demand than we could get. We did not increase our hard cap. $250 million is what we promised. That's where we stay. But the demand does mean that we have the opportunity to not only stick to our knitting of pre-seed, seed, Series A companies, but have wonderful limited partners of ours directly invest into these companies so we can grow alongside them. And so we're doubling down on everything. We're staying true to our knitting on that early stage. There is no lack of ambition in where we are going to put capital to work to make sure that the best companies get the best resources.
That's phenomenal, and we're glad to have you here building. Now, you've learned so much from your career, whether it's being in the US military, thank you for your service, going to Harvard Business School, I think you had a stint at KKR, now starting this venture fund. What would you pass back to up-and-coming builders, particularly maybe in the dual-use lens of what it takes to sort of build, grow, and scale a company like in your portfolio?
So first of all, thank you very much. Thank you for paying your taxes, Matt. That's the important part. Serving the military was one of the best things I've ever done. And I don't say that purely from the value that you derive from service, but what I would say is it is just an extraordinary opportunity to get exposure to the best of America. And so that is probably the lesson I would have is a lot of people have a view of how your career should work. And that career is often on what I would call this hedonic treadmill of you're just on. And the treadmill step is the one that the last guy or gal took, and so you should take the same step. And I would absolutely encourage everybody to not do that. When I joined the military, I had actually enlisted because the school I was at was only just introducing ROTC, and everybody said it was a dumb idea. Now it is the foundation of my career. I could not disagree more. Serving the military was absolutely extraordinary, but if serving in the military is not your bag, taking massive risk should be, because the only way that you reap the rewards of a massive upside is by taking massive risk. And so you point at this, Boston is filled with millionaires, but when you look at the people who become billionaires, they took a risk, they got lucky along the way, but you can't get lucky if you don't put yourself in a position to get lucky. And that only comes from doing something people don't want to do, which should not be serving the military. The military is awesome, but a lot of other things, KKR, I did not get in through the front door there. I cold emailed somebody, begged for a job, it seemed to work out, worked for the firm's founders, absolutely extraordinary. Maybe I was the world's worst intern, but it seemed to work out for me.
That's great advice. Now, last but not least, how can we help J2 Ventures grow, and how can we find J2 Ventures for any aspiring entrepreneurs that want to get involved?
Guys, please give me a call, shoot me an email. Email is how I communicate nowadays. I think I'd probably rather email than even just do anything else. It's the most efficient list that I have by which to work through things. We already have a ton of inbound, but if for some reason we are not giving you the attention that you deserve, we want to be integral in this community. Find a way to get a hold of us one way or another. We love talking to entrepreneurs. We love learning new things. The unfortunate thing about this job is we can't fund everything, but I would love to talk to anyone who is building something extraordinary, educate me, because at the end of the day, if I could build this company, I would have, and I'm not. And so I want to learn from the people who are doing it and be able to help them one way or another, whether it be with capital or whether it be in being a part of our ecosystem.
This is Alex Harstrick, the general partner of J2 Ventures. Matt from MGMT Boston, this is episode of Lantern. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thanks, everybody.